I want you to imagine the worst moment of your life. The moment when everything you love, everything you've built, everything that matters is about to be taken away from you. For my wife and my children. That moment came on a Tuesday evening in March, when I collapsed in our living room and stopped breathing. The doctors told my family I probably wouldn't survive the night, and they should gather to say goodbye. But what my family came to the hospital to do was say goodbye. What they witnessed instead was a miracle that would change all of our lives forever. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. If you believe in the power of prayer and miracles, please subscribe to this channel and share this testimony with someone who needs hope today. My name is Michael Rodriguez. I'm 43 years old, and I live in San Antonio, Texas. 2 years ago, I died. My heart stopped, and I was clinically dead for several minutes before paramedics brought me back. I spent 12 days in intensive care, and the doctors gave me less than a 5% chance of surviving. My family gathered around my bed to say their final goodbyes, but God had different plans. This is the story of how God gave my family a miracle when they thought they were losing me forever. I grew up in San Antonio, in a traditional Mexican-American family. My parents immigrated from Mexico before I was born, worked hard, and gave my 2 sisters and me a good life. We weren't rich, but we had what we needed. And more importantly, we had each other, and we had our faith. My mother made sure we went to Mass every Sunday, prayed the rosary as a family, and understood that God was the center of our lives. I met my wife, Elena, when we were both 18 years old at a church youth group event. She was beautiful, kind, and had a faith that was genuine and deep. We dated for 3 years, got married when we were 21, and started building our life together. I worked for my father's construction company, learning the trade from the ground up. Elena worked as a dental hygienist. We saved our money, bought a modest house on the south side of San Antonio, and started our family. We have 3 children. Diego is 19 now, Sophia is 17, and Lucas is 14. Being a father is the greatest joy of my life. I coached their soccer teams, helped with homework, taught them how to work with their hands, took them to church every Sunday, and tried to show them what it means to be a man of faith and integrity. My life wasn't perfect, but it was good. I had a wife I loved, children who made me proud, work that provided for my family, and a faith that grounded me. I'd always been healthy. I played soccer in high school, stayed active, didn't smoke, drank only occasionally. I had no history of heart problems, no warning signs, nothing that would suggest what was about to happen. That's what made it so shocking when everything changed in an instant. It was March 15th, a Tuesday evening. I'd come home from work, had dinner with my family, and we were all sitting in the living room, watching television together. I remember feeling a little tired, a little off, but nothing alarming. Then suddenly, I felt a tightness in my chest, like someone was squeezing my heart. I stood up, trying to catch my breath, and the pain intensified, shooting down my left arm and up into my jaw. I looked at Elena and I said, "Something's wrong. I think I'm having a heart attack." And then everything went black. I collapsed onto the floor, and my heart stopped beating. I was having a massive cardiac arrest, what doctors would later call the widowmaker heart attack, because it's so often fatal. Elena screamed. She dropped to her knees next to me and started performing CPR, something she'd learned years ago but never thought she'd have to use. Diego called 911, while Sophia and Lucas stood there terrified, watching their father dying on the living room floor. Elena kept doing chest compressions, crying and praying out loud, "God, please don't take him. Please, God, save him." The paramedics arrived within 7 minutes, which felt like an eternity to my family. They took over CPR, shocked my heart with a defibrillator multiple times, and finally got a pulse. They rushed me to the University Hospital in San Antonio, sirens blaring, working on me the entire way. Elena and the kids followed in our car. Elena shaking so badly she could barely drive. The kids crying in the back seat, all of them praying desperately that I would survive. At the hospital, I was taken immediately to the cardiac catheterization lab, where doctors discovered that my left anterior descending artery, the main artery that supplies blood to the heart, was completely blocked. They performed an emergency procedure to open it, inserted a stent, and then rushed me to the intensive care unit. I was in critical condition, on a ventilator, sedated, hooked up to multiple machines that were keeping me alive. The cardiologist, Dr. Martinez, called my family into a private consultation room. Elena told me later that the look on his face told her everything before he even spoke. He said, "I need to be honest with you. Michael's heart stopped for several minutes before paramedics arrived, even though they got it beating again. He suffered significant damage to his heart muscle, has also likely suffered some degree of brain damage from lack of oxygen. The next 24 to 72 hours are critical. His chance of survival is less than 5%. And even if he does survive, we don't know what his quality of life will be. You should prepare yourselves for the worst and call any family members who might want to say goodbye." Elena said those words. Prepare for the worst. Felt like someone had reached into her chest and ripped out her heart. She walked out of that meeting in shock, unable to fully process what she'd just heard. How do you prepare to lose your husband? How do you tell your children that their father is probably going to die? She called my parents. Her parents, my sisters, our closest friends, and our pastor. Within a few hours, the ICU waiting room was filled with people who loved us. People who'd come to support my family and to pray. Our pastor, Father Miguel, went into my room and anointed me with oil, praying over me, asking God to have mercy, to heal me, to give my family a miracle. That first night was the longest night of Elena's life. She stayed by my bedside, holding my hand, talking to me even though I couldn't respond, telling me about the kids, about how much we all loved me, about how I needed to fight and come back to us. She prayed constantly, sometimes in English, sometimes in Spanish, begging God to spare my life. The kids took turns sitting with me. Diego, my oldest, held my hand and told me he wasn't ready to lose me, that he still needed his dad. Sophia brought her rosary and sat next to my bed praying, tears streaming down her face. Lucas, my youngest, climbed up on the bed and laid his head on my chest, listening to the beeping of the heart monitor, wanting to be close to his father even though I couldn't hold him back. My mother told Elena that she knew God was going to heal me. She said she'd been praying since the moment she got the call, and she felt in her spirit that God had told her I wasn't going to die. Elena wanted to believe her, but the doctor's words kept echoing in her mind. Less than 5% chance of survival. On the second day, my condition worsened. My kidneys started to fail. My blood pressure was dangerously unstable, and I developed a fever indicating possible infection. The doctors told Elena that my body was shutting down, that there was very little they could do except keep me comfortable and wait to see if I would survive or if my organs would continue to fail. That evening, the medical team suggested that Elena might want to gather the family to say goodbye. They didn't expect me to make it through another night. Elena called everyone back to the hospital, texted our entire church community asking for prayers, and prepared herself to say goodbye to the love of her life. Our entire extended family crowded into my ICU room. My parents, Elena's parents, my sisters with their husbands, our closest friends, our children, and Father Miguel. The room was packed with people who loved me, people who'd come to say their final goodbyes. Many of them were crying, holding each other, grieving the loss that seemed inevitable. If you've ever experienced the power of prayer in your life, I want you to share this video right now. Someone needs to see this testimony today. Someone needs to know that God still performs miracles when we cry out to Him. Father Miguel stood at the foot of my bed and led everyone in prayer. He prayed for God's mercy, for healing, for peace, for my family. And then he did something that surprised everyone. He said, "We've been praying for God to have mercy and to prepare this family for loss. But I think we need to change our prayer. I think we need to boldly ask God for a miracle, not if it's His will, but declaring that it is His will for Michael to live, for this family to remain intact, for God to show His power." He began to pray with authority and faith, declaring healing over my body, commanding my organs to function, speaking life over me. And then he invited everyone in the room to join him, to lay hands on me and pray with faith for a miracle. What happened next is something my family talks about to this day. 20 people surrounded my bed, laid hands on me, and began to pray. Some prayed quietly, some prayed out loud, some prayed in Spanish, some in English. My mother prayed in tongues, a gift she had had for years. Elena held my face in her hands and said through her tears, "Michael, you're not leaving us. God is going to heal you. You're going to wake up. You're going to come home. Fight, baby. Fight for us." The atmosphere in that room shifted. What had been a gathering of grief and goodbye became a gathering of faith and declaration. People were no longer crying in despair but crying out in faith. They prayed for over an hour, refusing to accept the medical prognosis, choosing instead to believe that God could do the impossible. One of the ICU nurses who was monitoring me later told Elena that she had never experienced anything like it. She said the room was filled with such an overwhelming presence, such powerful emotion and faith, that it gave her chills. She said she found herself praying too, even though she wasn't particularly religious, because she felt something supernatural happening. That night, after everyone had left, and it was just Elena sitting by my bedside again, she made a declaration. She said, "God, I'm choosing to trust you. I don't understand why this is happening, and am terrified of losing my husband, but I'm choosing to believe that you are good, that you are powerful, and that you can heal Michael. I'm not saying goodbye tonight. I'm saying, see you soon, because I believe you're going to give him back to me." And then she opened her Bible to Psalm 118, verse 17, and she read out loud, "I will not die, but live, and will proclaim what the Lord has done." She declared that verse over me, over and over, until she finally fell asleep in the chair next to my bed, exhausted but holding on to faith. The next morning, day 3, something remarkable began to happen. My vital signs started to stabilize. My blood pressure, which had been dangerously low despite maximum medication support, began to rise to normal levels. My kidney function, which had been failing, showed signs of improvement. The fever that had been spiking broke and didn't return. Dr. Martinez came in to check on me, looked at my chart, looked at the monitors, and said to the nurse, "This doesn't make sense. He should be getting worse, not better." He ordered a full battery of tests, and every single one showed improvement. My heart, which had been severely damaged, was showing better function than it should have been. My brain, which they'd expected to show significant damage from oxygen deprivation, appeared to be functioning normally based on the tests they could run while I was still unconscious. By day 4, the doctors were cautiously optimistic. They started reducing my sedation to see if I would wake up. Elena sat by my bed, holding my hand, talking to me constantly, telling me to come back to her, to open my eyes, to fight my way back to consciousness. On day 5, I started to show signs of awareness. My fingers would twitch when Elena talked to me. My eyes would move beneath my closed eyelids. The doctors said these were good signs, indicators that my brain was functioning and that I might be waking up. On day 6, I opened my eyes. I was confused, disoriented, didn't understand where I was or what had happened. There was a tube down my throat, and I couldn't talk, but I could see Elena's face, and I could see the joy and relief in her eyes. She leaned down close to me and said, "You're okay, baby. You're in the hospital. You had a heart attack, but you're going to be okay. God saved you." We prayed for a miracle, and He gave us one. Over the next few days, I continued to improve. They removed the breathing tube, and I was able to breathe on my own. I started talking, started eating, started sitting up in bed. The physical therapists came to help me walk, and although I was weak, I could move and function. Every test they ran showed that I was recovering in ways that defied medical explanation. Dr. Martinez came to see me on day 8. He sat down next to my bed and said, "Michael, I've been a cardiologist for 25 years, and I've seen a lot of cardiac arrest patients. Based on how long your heart was stopped, based on the damage to your heart, based on how critical your condition was, you should not be sitting here talking to me right now. The fact that you're alive is remarkable. The fact that you have no brain damage, no significant complications, that you're recovering this quickly. I have no medical explanation for it. Your family will tell you it's a miracle. And honestly, I can't argue with that." I was moved out of the ICU on day 9 and into a regular hospital room. My family was finally able to visit me without restrictions. When my kids walked into that room and saw me sitting up, talking, smiling, they ran to me, and we all cried together. Diego said, "Dad, we thought we lost you. We came to say goodbye, but God gave you back to us." Sophia couldn't stop hugging me, and Lucas just wanted to sit on my lap and hold me. Elena told me everything that had happened over those 9 days. She told me about the doctor saying to prepare for the worst, about calling the family to say goodbye, about Father Miguel's powerful prayer, about everyone laying hands on me and declaring healing. She told me about the moment she chose to trust God instead of fear, about declaring that verse over me. And she said, "Michael, I watched God perform a miracle. I saw Him answer our prayers. We came to that hospital to say goodbye, and God gave us a miracle instead." I was discharged from the hospital on day 12. 12 days from being clinically dead to walking out of the hospital on my own 2 feet. Going home to my family, the doctors set me up with cardiac rehabilitation, put me on medications to protect my heart, and scheduled regular follow-up appointments. But they also told me that I was incredibly fortunate, that I'd been given a second chance that most people in my situation don't get. Before we continue, I want to ask you to do something. Take a moment right now to share this video. There's someone in your life who's facing a medical crisis, who's being told to prepare for the worst, who needs to hear that God still performs miracles. Share this testimony right now. The first few months of recovery were challenging. I had to learn to take care of my heart, to eat right, to exercise appropriately, to manage stress. I had to process the trauma of what had happened, the reality that I'd died and been brought back. I struggled with anxiety, with fear that it might happen again. But through it all, Elena and the kids were there, supporting me, loving me, reminding me every day that I was a walking miracle. I went back to work after 6 months, gradually at first, building up my strength and stamina. My father, who'd been running the construction company while I recovered, welcomed me back with tears in his eyes. He said he'd thought he'd lost his son, and getting me back was the greatest gift God could have given him. 2 years have passed since that Tuesday evening when I collapsed in my living room. 2 years since my heart stopped and my family thought they were losing me. 2 years since doctors gave me a 5% chance of survival. And here I am, alive, healthy, thriving. My heart function is good. I have no lasting complications. I live a full, active life. I'm here for my wife, for my children, for my parents, for everyone who prayed for me and believed God for a miracle. Diego just finished his first year of college. He tells people all the time about the miracle God did for our family, about how his father was dead and now he's alive. Sophia is applying to colleges, and she wants to be a nurse because she was so impacted by the nurses who took care of me and by seeing God's healing power firsthand. Lucas plays baseball, and I get to be in the stands at every game, cheering him on, grateful for every moment I get to be his dad. Elena and I renewed our wedding vows on our 22nd anniversary. We stood in front of our family and friends and declared our love and commitment to each other, thanking God for giving us more time together, for not letting death separate us. Father Miguel performed the ceremony, and he said, "This is a couple who knows what it means to fight for each other, to pray for each other, to trust God in the darkest valley. Their love story is marked by a miracle. I'm now part of a cardiac arrest survivor group, where I mentor other people who've experienced what I experienced. I share my testimony, encourage them in their recovery, and point them to the faith that saved my life. Many of them struggle with PTSD, with fear, with trying to make sense of why they survived when so many others don't. And I tell them what I believe, that God has a purpose for their lives, that they've been given a second chance for a reason, and that their survival is an opportunity to glorify God and encourage others." Our church asked me to share my testimony, and I stood in front of hundreds of people and told them what God did for me. I told them about lying on that ICU bed, about my family gathering to say goodbye, about the power of prayer, about choosing faith over fear. I told them that miracles aren't just stories from the Bible or things that happened 2,000 years ago. Miracles still happen today when God's people cry out to Him in faith. I've had people from all over reach out to me after hearing my story. People facing their own medical crises. People who've been given devastating diagnoses. People who feel hopeless. And I tell them all the same thing. Don't give up. Keep praying. Keep believing. Surround yourself with people of faith who will stand with you and declare God's promises over your life, because the same God who gave my family a miracle can give you one too. There's a verse in the Bible that has become my life verse. It's from Jeremiah 29, verse 11. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." That verse sustained my family during the darkest days of my illness. It reminded them that God had a plan, that His plan was good, that He had a future for us, even when doctors said otherwise. I think about what would have happened if my family had just accepted the medical prognosis, if they'd given up hope, if they'd resigned themselves to my death, but they didn't. They chose faith. They chose to pray boldly. They chose to believe that God could do the impossible. And because of that choice, I'm alive today. Elena is my hero. She's the one who performed CPR and kept me alive until paramedics arrived. She's the one who refused to leave my bedside for 12 days. She's the one who declared healing over me when doctors said to prepare for death. She's the one who held our family together, who kept our kids strong, who never stopped believing. I owe my life to her quick action and her unwavering faith. My mother's faith also sustained our family. She never doubted, not for a single moment, that God was going to heal me. She prayed constantly, fasted, called every prayer warrior she knew. She told Elena over and over, "He's not going to die. God told me he's going to live." And she was right. God honored her faith, her prayers, her refusal to accept anything other than my complete healing. I've learned so much through this experience. I've learned that life is fragile, that we're never guaranteed another day, that we need to cherish every moment with the people we love. I've learned that faith isn't just believing when things are good. It's choosing to trust God even when circumstances are terrifying. I've learned that prayer is powerful, that when God's people unite in faith and cry out to Him, He hears and He answers. I've also learned that miracles are real, not just metaphorical or spiritual, but actual, tangible, medically documented miracles. The doctors have no explanation for my recovery. My medical records show that I should have died or at minimum had severe brain damage and heart failure. But here I am, completely healthy, living proof that God still performs miracles in the 21st century. My family's story has been shared in our community, in our church, and beyond. People we don't even know have reached out to tell us that our testimony encouraged them, gave them hope, strengthened their faith. And that's why I'm sharing it with you today, because if God can give my family a miracle, He can give you one too. If He can bring you back from death, He can handle whatever situation you're facing. Are you facing a medical crisis right now? Has a doctor given you or a loved one a devastating prognosis? Are you in that ICU waiting room, terrified, not knowing if your loved one is going to survive? I want you to hear me. Don't give up. Pray. Believe. Surround your loved one with faith-filled people who will speak life and healing. Choose to trust God even when circumstances say otherwise. Because God specializes in doing the impossible. I'm not naive. I know that not every story ends the way mine did. I know that sometimes people pray with all the faith in the world, and their loved one still dies. I don't have all the answers about why some people get miracles and others don't. But what I do know is that God is good, that He loves us, that He hears our prayers, and that He's worthy of our trust, even when we don't understand His ways. My family came to the ICU to say goodbye to me. They thought they were losing me forever. But God had different plans. He heard their prayers. He saw their faith, and He gave them a miracle instead. I'm alive today because God intervened, because medicine met its limit, and God said, "Now watch what I can do." Thank you for listening to my testimony. Thank you for allowing me to share what God did for me and my family. My prayer is that this story has encouraged you, strengthened your faith, reminded you that nothing is impossible with God. If you're facing your own battle right now, don't quit. Keep fighting. Keep praying. Keep believing. Your miracle might be just around the corner. You are loved. You are valuable. Your life matters. God has a plan for you, and His plans are good. Trust Him. Believe Him. Call on Him. He will answer. He will show up. He will do exceedingly, abundantly, more than you could ask or imagine. Don't give up before your miracle happens. God bless you. May you experience the same miracle, the same divine intervention, the same powerful manifestation of God's love and power that my family experienced. May you know without a doubt that God is real, that He hears your prayers, and that He still performs miracles today. Keep the faith. Keep hoping. Keep trusting. God is with you, and He will never leave you or forsake you.